Hello, and welcome back to the Let's Process That podcast. I am one of your hosts coming at you solo. My name is Emily Christopher, for those of you who may be tuning in for the first time. And yes, my co-host is not here. I'm doing a solo podcast because life is crazy busy. We've been on a little bit of a hiatus, sabbatical. I feel like the word hiatus is always like, I don't know, it just sounds like a little bit more dramatic, but it's been more of a sabbatical because Nick and I have been starting new things or planning really big events in our lives, i.e. my wedding. And as I'm recording this, we're 2 weeks away and my head is spinning. And I appreciate everybody who's checked in on me to make sure I'm okay, because it's crazy out here. Planning a wedding in 2024 is not for the faint of heart. And yeah, I'm going to touch on some of that because I asked our audience and also my followers on Instagram to send me some questions. I appreciate everybody who's been reaching out saying, oh my gosh, we missed the podcast. When is it coming back? Nick and I will hopefully resume our regularly scheduled programming late summer, early fall. We'll figure that out as we get there. But I wanted to come on and go ahead and just do a solo podcast. And I appreciate all the feedback. I didn't realize that, one, people were still engaged, because I feel like when you go on a break from something, especially like any kind of programming, and that can be a show, a podcast, whatever it is, sometimes people just fall off, and we are inundated with so much content these days that I feel like it's like, I mean, what are you guys really missing another thing in your life? But I guess you were. So I'm delighted. I appreciate it. And so, yeah, today is going to be kind of all over the place. So buckle your seatbelts, because I got all kinds of questions and I really appreciate that. And yeah, I just appreciate the engagement. And I've never done a solo podcast. I listen to a few people who do it on the regular, and I have the utmost respect for them, because I'm like, wow, how in the heck do you listen or talk to yourself and listen to yourself for 30 minutes to an hour? It's impressive. So I'm going to see if I can do it, and we'll see how today goes. Already my mic keeps slipping down, so that's fun. Let me tighten this thing up. Lord have mercy. All right, so I'm going to dive right into questions, and we're going to see where it takes us, because like I said, there was really an array of things, and I also appreciate people who are not afraid to ask me questions and know that I'll talk about stuff publicly. So with that, here's question number 1. How has it been planning a wedding now at the age you are versus 9 years ago with your first marriage? For those of you who don't know, which most of you who listen, either you've been following along or you do know me, but I was married before. Adrian is my second marriage. And when I first got married, it was a whirlwind. We got engaged after 2 weeks of knowing each other, which is nuts. I'm just going to say it. It's crazy. I should have listened to my parents. Shout out Sherry and Greg. Y'all are so wise. And I tell them this all the time. Like, I should have listened to you guys. I should have heeded the wisdom of my mother and father. But alas, I didn't. And my parents were so amazing to just keep on supporting me and loving me through the marriage and through the divorce. All that to say, it is night and day. One, because when I got married, the first time, our wedding happened, I think like 5 or 6 months after we had met. So I was in a haze. I'd also had thyroid cancer surgery. I was going through treatment. I was 24 years old, and honestly, a child, an absolute child. And it was a blur. I just wanted to be married so badly that I was like, whatever, like, just throw it together. And so my sweet mother really stepped in and did all, if not most of the planning. And I just shook my head and said, great, great, great. This is the polar opposite. Every tiny, minute detail I am seeing. My hand is too. Shout out to my future mother-in-law, Bojana, for just being amazing during this whole process. And she's such a classy, brilliant woman. So it's been fun planning mine and Adrian's wedding. And don't worry, Adrian's been along for the whole ride. But I feel like most guys, there's certain things that they care about. And then other things they're like, sure, whatever. Like, I just want to have a good time. And can I have a steak? Sure. So this one, I've just, everything's been very thoughtful, thought through. Again, I'm almost a decade older. So yeah, things are a lot different. Also, finances are a lot different. Paying for, I didn't pay for any of my first wedding. So, that has a lot to do with how intentional you are, is when your dollar's going to something. So that's been really cool. And I've got a few surprises that I'm doing at the wedding. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm not going to say any more about that, but there's some special things that are taking place. And I'm really excited to share those moments, most importantly with Adrian, but also with friends and family who will be there. So very excited. But yeah, another thing too was it just kind of felt like we invited everyone in town to my first wedding. And of course, weddings are a lot more expensive even than they were 10 years ago. So yeah, it's just intentionality with all of that. There's a lot of intentional things, and I think that's how it should be. And that comes with growing up and caring about those things. So that's that on that. I wish I could go back to my younger self and give her a nice shake, but I love her, and I've made a lot of peace with my younger self and the decisions that I made, and I've given myself a lot of grace because you just don't know what you don't know, and you learn and you grow and you move forward, and I feel like that's where I'm at right now. Even like in this moment, if you're watching on YouTube, my room, this is my guest room, and it is a disaster, and I've just let it happen. I'm just rolling with it. And again, a part of maturing is just being like, yeah, this is me, this is my stuff, and it is what it is. Thoughts on the new Taylor Swift album. I won't talk about this for long, but because I feel like this could be a whole podcast, and people are so polarized by Taylor Swift sometimes, which is just so funny. And I think that happens to anybody who achieves the level of fame and success that she has. But all that to say, the girl can write some music, whether you love her or hate her. And I have really thoroughly enjoyed the Tortured Poets Department. I think it's lyrically very well done. I relate to a lot of it. Speaking of first marriages. And so I have really enjoyed it. And I also just think it's so funny how I've seen so many evangelical Christians like freaking out over this. But again, as soon as anybody gets famous, we decide we have to have an opinion about them and share that publicly, even though we don't listen to the album or put any thought behind it. Anyways, so I have enjoyed it, and I love that it's very honest, and her not even being very symbolic with some stuff and just flat out saying it how it is or how it went. If you are a believer of Christ listening to this, and like I said, this is where I've seen some pushback, I would implore you to listen to Kate Boyd's podcast. And for some reason it's slipping my mind. I'm gonna look it up real quick. I know it's on Spotify, and she is a theologian, and her podcast is called An Untidy Faith, Kate Boyd. And she brings in a couple of other theologians to discuss Taylor Swift's album, the symbolism, some of the controversies behind it. And it's just really well done. And again, I think we are all entitled to allowing our own opinions to be aired and posted. It's your social media, it's your thought, it's your opinion. But I also think before we ever engage in dialogue, we should do some research and not just click a share button. So that's my 2 cents. And again, this Taylor Swift or any music or art is not for everybody. That's why it's so great. It's personal and it's subjective. So, yeah, I think give it a deeper look, and symbolism and parables and metaphors are something used in the Bible. And it's okay if other people use them. And it's also okay if people get really messy and honest about the crap that they've been through and the things that they've struggled with. And of all the people who should not be afraid to allow people to be honest is the Christian community. So that's my 2 cents on that. I would love to further discuss. I reached out to some friends and I was like, hey, listen to this podcast and let's talk about it. Pertaining to the Cape Void podcast. So that's the thing. Like, educate yourself before you just jump into the, that mentality, the collective, just like saying yes to whatever the collective says. It's really beautiful that you have a mind and a brain, and God created those things. And so we should use them, without just passing judgment. Next question, and these are in no particular order, so this might sound like it's all over the place, and that's because it is. So, current leadership lesson. There's a lot right now. I'm not going to lie. So, my team has expanded, which is incredible. I cannot stress enough, if you are in a role that you hire and fire people, that you stay in tune with what's going on, that you stay in tune with what your department or your team or your business, your organization needs. We get really bogged down in the weeds of things. And if you cannot zoom out and see what people really need to accomplish the goal or mission or vision that is set forth in your company or organization, you're going to make some big flops and bad decisions on hiring. And the most recent person I hired is truly the perfect fit, like the perfect fit. And it was because I was picky as heck and I knew exactly what I needed and what our team needed to be successful. And man, oh man, I waited. It was almost 6 months of like lots of interviews, lots of setbacks before we made the right hire. And it was worth the wait, because if you're not willing to put the time in now, you're going to suffer the consequence later on making a bad hire. So that's one big leadership lesson that I feel like I just have really seen the benefit of making really thoughtful and well-processed hires. So shout out to my team, shout out to my girlies. Man, oh man, your team matters. And that leads me into my second lesson. You better take care of your team. Oh, I don't know if that just came through the speaker. I got a notification. My bad. If not, just ignore it. Back to where we were. Take care of your team. Take care of your people. Every person that you interact with, whether that is on a professional and a work environment or who you're passing in the street, every single person is going through different things. They may be in the highest of highs. They may be in the lowest of lows. And if you are a leader and you are managing people, it is your job to take care of those people. And I firmly believe that when you take care of somebody and you pull out the best in them and you give them a positive work environment, they are going to work 200 times more than you ever even asked them to do. Job description, above and beyond. Whenever they enjoy their job, whenever they enjoy their team, when they are respected, when they are seen, heard, valued, and appreciated. And that is just essential. So I think that's one of the other lessons I've learned or am really leaning into right now is cultivating a team that loves what they do and loves each other. Like, we have each other's back no matter what. No matter what, I'm going to fight for you. I'm going to stick up for you, and they're going to do the same. And so I would just say that's some observations that I've had and some things that I've been walking through. And maybe if you're listening to this, you have a team or you work on a team, really be focused on learning each other, learning the style of how someone receives communication or gives communication, just all those tiny details, because that really makes a huge difference. And so it may be time for you to zoom out, get out of the weeds a little bit, the day to day, because I know it's so easy to get bogged down with task list and all the deadlines and all the things going on, but really, really zooming out and appreciating your people and showing them how much you care, because that's essential. So yeah, that's just some leadership things I'm currently leaning into. Next thing. Sorry, let me pull this up. I'm a mess. Okay. So another question or topic that was kind of brought up, and I feel like this probably deserves an entire podcast, but I really want to speak to this right now. And that is stepping into a new exciting season and grieving an old one. And so seasons of life look different for everybody. I know some people, are getting married. Some people are having babies. Some people are starting new careers. Or maybe you've went through a really incredible healing process and you feel like a brand new person. I think for us, seasons of life come and go so fast that we don't acknowledge them, that we don't spend that time really giving them the attention that they deserve, as in like the gratitude for a door closing and another door opening. And so I would say, if you're somebody who is going through any kind of life transition, new season, whatever you want to call it, to really take some time and sit with it. Think about, wow, this is going to change. That's going to change. How do I feel about that? Am I excited? Am I sad? Am I grieving something? Because I've even had to do that. Like, even in the last few months, I've had some relationships shift and change, or I've come to the realization that some relationships have simply faded. And it's been hard. I'm not going to lie. I've had a few good cries, and I think that's because I'm allowing myself to feel everything in this season of change. Like, I'm about to be a married woman. I'm about to really step into covenant relationship with somebody and build a whole new life and a whole new family, a whole new generation, all this stuff. And no, wow, when I said that, people are gonna be like, "Are you pregnant?" No, I'm not. But not yet. We've got that. It's down the road, maybe. But there's gravity to the transition and the change in your life, and you need to give it its weight. Go ahead and let it feel the way it feels. And I really think documenting those things are really important. I know not everybody's a writer, but journal if you can. One thing I like doing is voice memos or a little video clip. I did that the other day. I just kind of paused and like turned on my cell phone camera, and I was like, so this is what I'm doing right now. I can't believe this is happening. I'm so excited. And I just wanted to document my thoughts and feelings. And I just kind of word vomited for a couple of minutes. And there's that. And I've got it. And I'm excited to go back and listen to that one day. And so I would say document as much as you can, because it is always so cool to think through those thoughts and feelings later on and be like, man, can you remember when I was so scared of the new thing, but I did it anyways? And like, look at me now on the other side of it. I'm confident. I am feeling qualified. I'm feeling like, yes, this is what I should be doing. There's this level of reassurance. So I would really encourage people to document the season of life, no matter what it is, but especially during transition. There's things that you learn and parts of you that are so built in the seasons of transition that really propel you into who you're supposed to be. So document as best you can. Again, I know that's different for everybody, and that may be even a different artistic outlet. You may be like painting or creating or whatever, but some like way of expression, I think, is just incredible. So I would definitely encourage people to do that. And just again, touching on like the grief part of it, it's okay to grieve that. It is okay to be sad that things are not the way they used to be. And I feel like we really have to do that with relationships. And like I said, I've even had to lean into that in this season. People that I thought would be there for me haven't been. And in that place, though, it's like God has given me people. People have really stepped up, like relationships that maybe weren't as strong are now like flourishing, and I'm like on a new level of friendship with somebody, and that's really beautiful and cool. And so I believe that God will always give us what we need in different seasons if we'll just open our eyes to that. And that comes with the full circle of grieving the old and preparing our hearts for the new things. So, yeah, feel all your feelings. It sucks sometimes. I know. Trust me. I freaking hate crying. I cried yesterday morning on the phone to my mother. I was having a moment. Ooh, Lord. I was having a moment. And I just had to grieve. And it was interesting too. Like old grief came up too, because grief is not a linear thing. I mourned my grandmother who passed away when I was 16 years old. And I just had a good cry about her not being at my wedding. And so, again, there's all kinds of things that grief does, and we just got to allow ourselves to have that moment. I needed the cry. I needed to feel it. And then I was okay. We wiped our tears and we saw our shade back to the office. Another really interesting thing that somebody mentioned, and if you submitted something and I'm not touching it, know that I'm probably saving it for a full podcast episode with Nick. And just to kind of tie in, somebody else wrote, how do you hold space for joy and pain at the same time? And I wish I had like some profound thing. You just do. Like there is no magic or like some secret or riddle to understanding how to hold joy and pain at the same time. You just simply do it because you're a human who feels and experiences all of life and all at the same time. And that's okay. Again, I'm planning my wedding right now. I'm so excited. I am so happy. I am just anticipating. And yet I also needed to mourn that my grandmother wasn't going to be there. And I hold those things together. And I acknowledge both of them. And I make space for both of them. Because a lot of you are probably really good at holding space for other people, but you don't do it for yourself. And I get that. But you need to also understand that joy and pain exist, and they're held in the same cup because of our human experience. And there should not be any guilt or shame when you do experience those two immense feelings in the same setting or occasion, event, whatever, because that just is how life is. And so give yourself some space to hold the cup and understand that we drink from it, and that sometimes there's a little bit more joy in that cup. Sometimes there's a little bit more pain, but at the end of the day, there is both. And you have to drink both of them and allow space for both to have their moment, no matter what it is. So, like I said, I feel like that could be a whole podcast episode, and I could really go into a lot of examples and stories about that, but I'm going to leave it there for now because shockingly, I've been talking for longer than I thought. So let me get back to some of these lighthearted things as I kind of start to dwindle down. So other question I got asked is people want to know what TV show I'm watching. So if you know, I do love TV. I love film. And we have been watching, I've been watching it with Adrian. We have been watching Lost, which is the series that came out on ABC 20 years ago. And if you don't know it, look it up. But we're on the last season and we are clawing our way through this last season. It has been such a great show. Like, it's prolific and talked about and still celebrated and so beloved. And I get that. But what is up with all of these people flopping or like just really dragging out the last season? I can't stand it. I'm really ready for this to be over, which if you would have told me that's how I felt in like seasons 1 through 4, I'd like, there's no way. This is genius. This is incredible. I'm loving it. But man, oh man, this last season, I'm having to force myself to finish it because I will finish it. But we're going to start Fallout whenever we're done with Lost. I think we have 10 more episodes of Lost and then we'll get through it. But it's been really interesting. It's given us some good talking points. It's allowed us to kind of explore some thoughts, some ideas, which I love shows that do that, or for you to be like, ooh, what would you do in this challenging situation when you have a dilemma? What would you do? Or whose side would you be on? So that's always fun to do when you're watching a show and getting into those questions of morals. Yay. All right, I'm gonna answer one more question and then we'll wrap this up. I had 2 people who reached out with this thing. And they said, you teased a secret project on your Instagram story. Please tell us what it is. No, I'm not going to tell you because then that defeats having a secret project. But you will all know soon what my secret project is. Okay? You're going to know. All will be revealed. Let me have my secrecy. Y'all know I have a flair for the dramatics. I love being dramatic. I love having a secret. I love surprises. I love all those kind of things. So like, let me have my moment. Okay? Chill. I'm gonna show y'all what it is soon. And the guesses were incredible. Again, no, I'm not pregnant. Good grief, people. Like, I know I'm old, and when I eventually do have a baby, good Lord willing, or if that's even in the cards for me, or excuse me, don't let me say in the cards for me. People will think I'm going off the deep end in sorcery. No, that's just saying if it's God's will for me to have a baby, it will still be down the road, and I'll have a nice geriatric pregnancy. Okay. But no, I'm not pregnant. No, it has nothing to do with my work career, my 9 to 5. No. But I will be sharing shortly and I'm excited to share. Is there anything else? I don't think so. Like I said, I was just going to hop on here, answer a few questions, have a nice chit chat. I hope I've joined you while you've been commuting or folding laundry or on your walk or whatever it may be. And yes, I know that this episode was very girl coded, very girly chit chat. But guess what? That's what I am. I'm a girly with the podcast. So I'm going to talk about girly things. And it is what it is. So I love you guys. Thank you for listening. Thanks for tuning in. If I didn't get to your question, it's probably going to be a full podcast, late summer, early fall. And yeah, or maybe I'll come back and do a part 2 podcast. Please like, subscribe. Shout out to all the people who make this podcast possible all the time, and that's our producer and my fiance, Adrian Wos. This music was made by Caleb Honerkamp. And our promo photos are done by Before the Foundations Photography, aka Allison Frost. I can't wait to see you guys soon, and I love your feedback. Drop any comments, drop any questions, and I will get to them. And hopefully you'll be seeing me and Nick very soon. Bye-bye.